1, 2, 3. Welcome to She Rocked It. This is the place where ladies are talking about the ways we're blazing our trails and the things that put the wind in our sails.
She Rocked It is a podcast and virtual community dedicated to celebrating and elevating the voices of women. I'm Karen Gross, and as a professional writer and singer for the past 2 decades, I've come to know the power of the voice to connect, inform, and inspire us. On this podcast, I'm pulling back the curtain on the lives of trailblazing women who reveal how they've raised their voices and rocked it across many professional fields. Ready to rock? Let's go. Hello, and welcome to She Rocked It, where we're dedicated to raising the volume on women's voices. And today, you're going to get to hear from a member of the She Rocked It family, our audio engineer, Teng Chen, who is such a rock star audio engineer. She actually came to the U.S. from China to attend college at Johns Hopkins University, and after earning her master's degree there, went on to become an audio engineer for distinguished symphony orchestras, and now she works for SNL. That's right, Saturday Night Live. So you're going to get to hear some amazing behind-the-scenes stories about working there. Teng has really had to hold her own in the male-dominated world of audio engineering. So I know you're going to be inspired by how she courageously raises her voice and how she rocks it.
Hi!
Hey!
It's so good to be in front of the camera for once.
And you look smashing in front of the camera. I see more of this in your future.
Thank you. I'll practice.
Oh, no need. And, we've had conversations together offline. I'm a musician, and I've said to you how it's been kind of unusual in my experience to work with a woman, music engineer, audio engineer, and expert. And you have mentioned how in your career, it's been rather rare to be a woman in this industry. So I can't wait to talk to you a little more about that today and how you've raised your voice.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started my studies 10 years ago, I was one of the 3 women in a 30 or 40 people program, and that includes, the one undergrad program and 2 master's degree program. I was one of the 3 women, and then I started working in the summers, in classical music festivals doing engineering works, and for the first 2 or 3 years, I was the only woman in the team, of course, again. And that includes the audio team, the stagehand. And the only place you will see a woman is librarian or ticket booth.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And, just like starting my career in an environment like that is really hard because you're basically alone. Like, you don't have anybody to learn from. You don't have a female role model. And especially in an environment like that, it's very easy to form this bro vibe.
Right.
And you're, you're among of a bunch of guys and you're thinking, oh, should I act like a girl or should I act like a man? And there's
so interesting, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of, identity issues that came up. But yeah, I am fortunate enough that recent years there are a lot of more female engineers that came into the workforce, and I was fortunate enough to work with some of them, and we learned from each other. We started talking about, what we went through, the difficulties that we have to face, and how we
sharing
got
your
over
stories.
it. Exactly. Yep. And that's what inspired me to speak up, because we need the women's voice in the male-dominated industry, and the women are doing incredible work. There's honestly, in audio, there's nothing that a man can do that a woman can do. It shouldn't be a male-dominated industry at all.
So back us up a little bit in your own personal life. So how did you come to be an audio engineer? You wound up at Johns Hopkins. Give us a little bit of that trajectory for you.
So I started as a classical pianist. I started playing the piano when I was 3 years old.
Wow.
When I was a teenager, all I wanted to do was to be a concert pianist. But on my free time, I'm not just interested in the classical music. I'm interested in music in general. And, I love to sing. My dad is a he's a really good singer, but back then his family didn't have the resources to support him to make him a professional singer. But I love to sing. So sometimes I will open my computer and, it was a Windows computer, open up the little recording program, play the little piano, and then go back and then sing on top of it. And that's how I got started.
Self-recording.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So when I was applying for school, well, first of all, I wanted to come to America because this is where, the entertainment industry is.
So all that up to this point,
that was all in China. I grew up I was born and raised in China.
Okay, where in China?
Beijing.
In Beijing, got it.
Yeah, in Beijing. And I came to America for college.
And so how old were you? You were like 18
I was 18,
or so?
Yeah, that was
Wow.
10 years ago, almost.
Okay, amazing. So you had this dream of coming to the U.S. to really pursue your musical passion.
Exactly. And another reason is that it's hard to become a musician when in China when you didn't start very early on. I mean, I didn't go to like a youth conservatory. So when I decided to become a musician at 18, it was too late for me.
But your parents, I might add, it sounds like were supportive of this.
They are very supportive, yes.
That's very cool.
I am so fortunate to have this great family. They support everything I do. They support my dreams. They sent me here. I know.
I mean,
and now they regret it because I don't go back.
You're a New York City girl now. I know it, right? Yeah.
Now my mom is like, darn it. Shouldn't have done that. But
you're living the dream. You're living your dream.
Yeah, they're happy for me. They're very happy for me. So when I was applying for school, I saw this program at Hopkins, the music school of Hopkins Peabody. They have this, well, first of all, is one of the top conservatory for pianists. And then they have this side program where you can do a recording degree and a performance degree in 5 years.
Wow.
And if you want to, you can tag along another master's degree also in this 5 years. So when I got a scholarship from Peabody, I was like, this is a no-brainer. I get 5 years, 3 degrees. I get to do exactly what I want to do. So I just jumped on it. And that's how I get started.
That sounds like a wonderful opportunity to really pursue your studies in the U.S. at a great school. I would think that because you're also a performer, a player, you have a unique insight into the recording experience, the engineering that maybe some folks who are just focused on engineering may not have. Is that true?
Exactly. And that's very valuable these days.
Yeah.
Musicians wants to work with someone who understands music. And just having the education of all the, musical theory, performance, and understanding what's going on in their head while they're doing this is just so valuable to them.
That's amazing. And you've worked with orchestras. Tell us a little bit about the amazing organizations that you've worked with since graduating.
So after I graduated or while I was still at school, I started working for Baltimore Symphony Orchestra as one of the archival recording engineer. There's a main engineer, and when he can't do the recordings, he'll send me to the to do the archival recording stuff.
Wow.
And before that, I spent a summer at Banff. They have this amazing program for creators.
Yeah, Banff.
I was doing an audio residency, I guess you can call it, for 3 months or 3 or 4 months. And before that, I was. The summer before that, I was working with the Boston Symphony Orchestra at Tanglewood in their summer orchestral program. And before that, it was a Brevard and, just other classical programs. I was a classical musician, so I started in the classical field and kind of slowly branched out.
It takes courage to do this, to follow your heart and to go to these places, and it's hustle too, right? You're hustling as an independent, right? Entrepreneur, essentially. So did you get the courage to follow your dream, and how do you continue to courageously pursue these opportunities, land these really wonderful opportunities. Tell us about that courage.
So I think my family has a big impact on me. Growing up in China, it's not a country that's friendly for women. Our value is hugely discounted. And it's not just people's opinion. People think that it's a fact that boys are smarter than girls and that men should take on more responsibility in the society than women. And women should not pursue what they want to do. Because, when you have a master's degree, you can't find a husband. Men will get, they'll get scared of you. But my family is the opposite. They are just like, telling you can do whatever you want to do. You can be whoever you can be. And they raised me like a man. So, I mean, growing up, I lost opportunities to men so many times just because, I'm a girl. But my mom has always taught me to, don't be sour, because, it's as sad as it is, this is how the society works. It is what it is. And the only way that I can be where I want to be is to be better than those men, is to work harder than those men. So yeah, growing up, they made me really tough. So yeah, since I was a kid, I have a goal and I had my eye on a goal and I go for it.
And when you say, like, in terms of, unfortunately, losing some opportunities to men and, being in rooms where you're the only woman, how have you gotten the courage to hold your own, let's say, in such a male-dominated industry, would you say? What gives you that sort of inner steel to just keep going? Because I know I've been in environments like that, and it's actually kind of tough to, keep your strong backbone sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I don't know. I guess I was wired to believe that I am no lesser than who they are. And there are situations where I have to compromise. And, if compromising will take me to where I want to be, I'll do it. You got to focus on the long-term goal, and just don't get stuck to, what he said about you this one time. Just, have a filter that out, and then focus on where you want to be, and don't get discouraged.
I got you. And what about women you've met along your journey? Have there been any mentors who have inspired you, who've kind of nudged you along, who've given you that encouragement when maybe times were a little tough?
Yeah.
Tell us. Yeah.
My first boss or my first supervisor I met at Banff, she's this, her name is Teresa Leonard. And she's just incredible engineer, producer. And what I learned from her is that you don't have to be all tough to be in the med industry. You could be a woman and still succeed as long as you plant yourself like a tree, you know who you are, and no one can take you down. You don't have to act like you're all tough. You don't have to wear all black, dress like a man. You just have to know who you are. You just have to be tough mentally. And at SNL, I work with this amazing music A2. Her name is Caroline, and she's only 2 years older than me. And
I'm sorry, you said at SNL? You said, right? Okay, wait a minute. I just want to make sure I heard that.
Workplace.
That would be Saturday Night Live, friends.
I am now the pre-record music editor and mixer. And this is my first year at this role. First year at this role. The past 2 years, I was a music A2, and I do the tracking, which is, recording the show.
I'm sorry, when you say music A2, did you say? I want to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah, music A2. So for those who don't know what music A2 is, basically those are the people who are on stage interacting with the band and musicians who come in.
Wow.
And who is basically the middle person between the musician and the mixer. So if something goes wrong, if the mixer say, hey, I don't get this channel, it's the music A2's responsibility to troubleshoot. Wow. Yeah, it's a very important role. But anyways,
I can imagine. And so are you on set with them?
I was, yeah. For the first
Yeah.
2 years, I was working that job. I was on set with them. But the other women that I work with, she's only 2 years older than me, and from her, I learned that you can say no to men at work. You can tell them, "Hey, stop joking around. We're working here," as opposed to play into their jokes and try to be one of them.
I imagine that working at SNL is kind of hectic. It's, I'm sure, like crazy schedule. Do you thrive on that kind of energy? Tell us a little about what that life is like for you.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, just being in the audio industry in general, it's a very fast-paced work environment. Even in the studio, once the musicians are in, it just, the clock starts ticking. Every minute is money. And you have to work fast. If you're still troubleshooting, you have to troubleshoot fast, move fast. But yeah, everything is fast. And I definitely thrive in that environment. Growing up in China, everything is 10 times faster even than New York. So I'm used to that speed. So there's definitely hectic things going on, but we always make it work. Because we're all pros, and we've done it for a while. But yeah, it's very exciting. And at the end of the show, you feel your adrenaline going, and it was like 1:30 a.m. You got home, you're still kind of pumped. You're like, oh, let's do stuff. But it's already 1:30 a.m. on a Saturday. It's time for bed.
That's amazing. I love this like behind the scenes kind of on SNL. And I'm curious, like how do you get from like a symphony orchestra type of gig to doing this kind of work on SNL? I mean, that's so cool.
Yes.
It's all so cool, of course. But yeah, how does that happen?
So after I graduated school, I've already done a lot of symphony gigs for people my level experience or age. And it's not that I'm tired of it. I feel like I want to do more. For those who know classical recording, there's some innovation, but not a lot. So I started doing more jazz recordings because it's also acoustic. Is what I know.
Right.
It's the sound of the instrument. You're capturing that, and you're capturing what's happening at the moment. So I started doing that, and then jazz is what attracted me and led me to New York, because there's a huge scene here.
And when did you get to New York?
I came to New York in the summer of 2017. That was a year after I finished school.
Gotcha.
So yeah, and I actually moved with my office job as an acoustic consultant. There's just so much going on in those few years.
Wow.
The office job that I was working at, they opened the office in New York. So I asked to move here with the job. So I was doing that job for a whole year while I was, socializing with musicians and engineers, going out.
Sure, networking.
Trying to meet people, networking.
Yep.
Because when I moved to New York, I only know 2 people.
Wow.
And I know if I want to survive here, I have to branch out. And it's in that year I met the engineer who eventually introduced me to SNL when they have an opening.
Well done.
Well, thank you. I was very lucky too.
And you've been with them for a couple years now.
I've been with them for 3 years now.
3 years. And so this year, obviously, with the pandemic, or I should say last year, was it kind of like remote? Did you have to do things from a distance, or?
No, I go in during show weeks. This year I switched to another job, so I'm not in the studio all the time. I'm doing more work on my computer. But we're still in the building. We're still, down the hall from the studio.
Amazing. And I feel incredibly blessed that we get to work with you here at She Rocked It.
I'm very happy to work with you.
And when we had our initial conversation, I was so struck by your belief in this vision of She Rocked It, of elevating and celebrating the voices of women. And I just felt so fortunate to meet you as a pioneering woman engineer. And so to kind of feel your true belief in this has been so awesome. And also, of course, your expertise is unmatched. So, thank you.
I'm so flattered. I am honestly so honored to work on this podcast because, I try to amplify women's voices in my industry, and I read books about people who talk about being a woman in their own fields, and it's so nice to work on a podcast using my skills to help elevating women and amplifying women's voices. This is just incredible. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I was just going to say, it's so awesome to hear your voice because I think, as I was mentioning before, I bet because you're behind the scenes working your magic with the mix that you may not always have the opportunity to share your full story. So I'm so grateful that you're able to just share your story now and tell us a little more about why you feel it's so important for women to share their stories and why you believe in that vision so strongly.
Yeah. So, it came from my own experience of not having a mentor or a colleague to learn from or to talk to. So, I think it's important for people who've reached when women reach a certain level in their career or a certain point in their life, we should take on the role as mentors for the young women who are still trying to figure out their places in this world. And I hope by talking about my experience, I can inspire some younger engineers or younger girls who are also working in the men's world. And to show that I had this problem and it's fine that you have this problem too. And I am still dealing with it, and that's okay. We're all just trying to figure it out. Another thing is that women makes up half of the population. Just think about how much better the future would be if women's voices are elevated and if women's talents are being put into use. The female and male gender should not be in competition. We should be in collaboration to create a better future. I'm curious, there's been a lot of news about this past year and women leaving the workforce because they're having a hard time, understandably, balancing the commitments of motherhood or of parenthood or being, at home with kids versus like going to work. And I'm just curious. I know you're not yet a mom except for Dragon, your cat, right? My little kitty.
Yes,
sleeping on the chair.
I'm just wondering, because you're in such a fast-paced world and it's still a male-dominated world. And again, this is kind of a personal question. If starting a family is something that you may be interested in, or even just to take time off, frankly, whether or not you start a family, do you feel as a woman that would kind of jeopardize all the inroads that you've made in your career by stepping away? How are you thinking about that? I'm curious in the context of the struggles of women generally over this past year.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like if I step away right now, there won't be a role waiting for me when I try to go back to work. And it's really sad. I talk with my male colleagues about it too, who have 3-4 kids at home, and I can't have that. I can't have 3 kids at home. Me and my partner were both audio engineers. We don't have a set schedule. It's just, and my family's in China. His family is in California. We don't have help.
Right. It's
just, sadly, it's not possible right now for us to have a family. And we're not really planning on it. I'm not saying that I don't want to have kids, but I feel like my passion has been in my work since I have memory. Since I have memory, I always wanted to be a musician. I always wanted to work in the music field. And I feel like I'm finally where I am. I don't want to give that up, to have a family. Yeah. So it's definitely a challenge, and I don't know what we're gonna do when we do want a kid, but hopefully we will be more established by then, and we'll be able to say no to some things. to have more time for family, to take some time off. We don't have to say yes to everything anymore.
Yeah, and hopefully by having these kinds of conversations and with all of the, attention, I think, on the struggles of women, I hope for you, for other women, that there will be larger societal change and more infrastructure to support women and men, mothers and fathers.
My family's not thrilled about this, but, they don't understand it's a different country. When I was growing up, I had my grandparents my grandma quit her job, closed up her business to raise me. And I didn't have that. I don't have that right now. So, it's a challenge.
Yes. And speaking of challenges, not to go down a rabbit hole of challenges, but to raise an important issue, you're in New York, and we're in Asian American, AAPI, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month this month. We're recording this in May 2021. Yay. Yay is right. And I just, first of all, wanted to hear from you how your background as a Chinese woman maybe influences your life now. And if you may want to speak to, I know this is obviously a painful topic, the really unfortunate rise of anti-Asian violence in New York and other places. It's just terrible. Have you been fearful at all in the city?
Yes. I started driving everywhere at the beginning of the pandemic just for, safety concerns. And now I am fully vaccinated. I don't have to drive anymore, but I still do because I don't want to get attacked on the subway.
Wow.
When I'm walking alone outside dark, I have to clench myself. I clench my fingers to a key just, so that I can protect myself. And I did a lot of kickboxing back then. And I used to treat it as a sort of workout, but now I feel like it should be a self-defense. Like, I have to make myself stronger physically to actually deal with those situations so that I can stay alive, which is really sad.
It's very sad. And, when I lived in New York, I always felt the diversity of New York was one of its biggest assets.
Yes.
You're with people from all around the world who are pursuing their dreams. And I'm sorry that now there's this pain of the fear around identity,
Yeah,
And
it really is. And my family, every time I talk to them, my mom is like, Teng, maybe you should consider dyeing your hair, to blonde or something, so they don't, when you wear a mask, they don't think you are Asian. And I was like, no, this shouldn't be my problem. I am proud of being Asian. I'm proud of being who I am. They need to figure out how to deal with it. But, it's a work in progress. We're all trying.
Your strength of character, your courage, your just eloquence is so incredibly inspiring. I'm so grateful to have met you and to get to talk to you.
Thank you.
And I so appreciate, you sharing your thoughts on your journey. And to go back to this amazing trajectory, this amazing path that you continue to walk as an audio engineer. And I know you're also active in like unions and your, organizations in the industry. Where do you kind of see yourself walking? I don't know, as you proceed in your career this year and beyond.
See myself? That's a good question. I do this little silly thing where I write down my goals on a little notebook. I have a 1-year goal, I have a 3-year goal, a 5-year goal, and a 10-year goal. And I divided them into, career, family, and fun.
I love that.
It's really helpful because I get lost sometimes. I think, I've made it. I work at SNL, but wait, there's so much more that I can do. I want to perfect my craft. I want to be a better audio engineer. I want to be someone that people wants to work with and someone that people, I want to work with Teng on this project. I want to be that person eventually one day.
I wouldn't be surprised if you just check all your goals off, considering what you've done already. I mean, do you find like putting them down on paper really helps you to like realize those and manifest those visions? Yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
If you could leave women, let's say, with one tip so that we can rock it in our careers and our callings like you have. You've rocked your goals. You continue to rock your life as an audio engineer and raise your voice in important ways.
Yes.
Give us one tip to rock it that we can take with us.
I always tell myself, always do what you're reluctant to do. Always do what you don't want to do. Because it's so easy to just, not ask this difficult question, stay away from this problem. But it's oftentimes is when you actually face those problems and when you ask those questions, that's when you grow and that's when you open doors. So yeah, always do what you don't want to do.
That's
and you won't
interesting.
regret
Sometimes
it.
that resistance signals something that you really need to do.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like that helped me a lot, but it could be depends on the people. I'm the kind of person who go for it, and if you say no, that's fine. I'll go the other way. My mom always said that I was raised with a thick skin, and I can take on anything.
I believe her. And I am so grateful that we crossed paths along your exceptional journey. And I'm so grateful that we got to get a deeper window into who you are and what makes you tick.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And I know you're going to continue to inspire us and you're going to continue to inspire the next generation of female audio engineers. So you definitely rock it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Wow, I am blown away by that conversation and by your journey. Thank you so much, Teng. And if people want to continue to learn about you and follow your journey, where can they do that?
You can go on my website, tengchenaudio.com. That's TENGCHEN audio.com. Or follow me on Instagram. I post, pictures of studio setups, what we do in the studios, little microphone pictures, or just, the stuff that I believe in. But yeah, and get in touch with me.
Fantastic. And again, we're so grateful to have you as part of the She Rocked It family. And if you want to learn more about She Rocked It, yes, thank you. Feel free to visit our website, which is sherockedit.com. And don't forget to sign up for our email list so you can be the first to know about our upcoming podcast episodes and some awesome programs that we're going to be rolling out very soon. We hope to see you as part of our Rockstar Network. Thanks again, Teng.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning into the She Rocked It podcast. I'm your host, Karen Gross. This episode has been produced by Tori Marchioni and Jake Siegelbaum, with audio engineering by Teng Chen. The She Rocked It theme song is by Karen Gross and Tim Motzer. I invite you to join us on Instagram at She Rocked It and join our Rockstar Network at sherockedit.com. We hope you'll add your voice to the conversation because at She Rocked It, we are dedicated to raising the volume on women's voices.
She rocked